Welcome to StopFake, the place where we identify fakes and debunk them to set the record straight on disinformation about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun, and this week we look at if Kyiv is really ignoring the Minsk agreement meeting, is the Russian language really banned in Lviv, and what do Ukraine's Prosecutor General, a Chechen fighter, and a Russian extradition request have in common? So let's get to the details. The so-called Human Rights Commissioner of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic, the DPR, Daria Morozova, announced that Kyiv is sabotaging the work of the Minsk Trilateral Group, a group of representatives from Ukraine, the Russian Federation, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, formed to facilitate a diplomatic resolution to the Russian-fueled war in the Donbas region of Ukraine. Morozova claims that Ukraine boycotted last week's meeting in Minsk and sabotaged the resolution of important issues. Morozova's pronouncements made the rounds of pro-Russian media and occupied Ukraine and were well featured in Russia's pro-Kremlin media. Morozova's claim is a blatant fake aimed at the captive audience within the self-proclaimed republics. According to Darina Olifer, spokeswoman for Leonid Kuchma, Ukraine's representative to the Trilateral Group, Ukrainian representatives actively participated in the last group meeting. During the negotiations, the Ukrainian side insisted on additional security measures in the Donbas region running up to the November elections that the separatist enclaves have called for. The self-proclaimed separatist republics have announced that they will be holding elections on the 11th of November. Ukraine, the European Union, and the OSCE have condemned the move, saying it violates the Minsk negotiation process and could derail it. Russia-supported militants occupying eastern Ukraine have declared elections needed to be held after the assassination of DPR leader Alexander Zakharchenko on August the 31st. Ukraine's presidential humanitarian envoy to the Minsk peace talks, Member of Parliament Irina Gerashenko, says it is the Russian side that left the negotiating table early and disrupted the negotiations. According to Gerashenko, a Russian representative and close Putin ally Boris Gryzlov announced, quote, "We must take care of things there and hold elections." When the Ukrainian side pressed Gryzlov on who the "we" are, considering that the Kremlin's line is that Russia is not in the Donbas, he abruptly left the meeting. Lviv bans the Russian language, hailed scores of Russian propagandist media last week. Lviv banned singing Russian songs, wailed Gazeta.ru, while other publications warned that Ukrainian nationalists were oppressing Russian speakers, putting the local population in danger, and fostering Ukrainian separatism that is depriving swaths of society from speaking Russian. These fake and distorted claims were Russian media's reaction to a resolution enacted by the Lviv Regional Council banning public use of Russian language cultural products such as music and films. The resolution is not a law, but a recommendation, and does not outline any means of its enforcement. Russian journalists, politicians, and political analysts, as well as activists, launched a wave of outraged comments and threats against the Lviv Regional Council recommendation, calling it a reactionary law that Russia must react to accordingly. Now, the approved measure is not a law, but a temporary moratorium on Russian cultural content for the duration of Russia's occupation of Ukrainian territories. According to the DPA Ukrainian section, the moratorium is nothing but a recommendation and is not compulsory. The moratorium concerns a possible ban of audiovisual materials in Lviv regional entertainment establishments, something the Regional Council already called for in April of this year. Regional legislators explained the move is aimed to, quote, avoid escalating tensions and overcome the consequences of Ukraine's prolonged language Russification. Lviv Regional Council legislators have proposed the formation of a special interdepartmental group to look into the issue and have called on district councils to follow suit with similar measures. The Regional Council also plans to call on Ukraine's parliament, the Verkhovna Rada, to amend existing legislation in order to curtail continued Russification. Frightened by neo-Nazis, Ukraine's General Prosecutor's Office freed Movlad Timarov. That is how the Russian site Regnum interpreted Ukraine's decision to release Timarov. The Regnum story cites a pro-Russian Ukrainian site, Strana.ua, which ran a story about Timarov's release entitled A Change of Mind Before Storming the Parliament, Why Ukraine Chose Not to Extradite a Chechen Accused of Drug Trafficking. Originally from Chechnya, a republic in the Russian Federation, Timarov fought with a volunteer battalion alongside the Ukrainian military in Donbas against Russian separatist militants for 2 years, but was forced to leave the front line because of failing health. From 2017, Timarov worked as a volunteer supporting Ukraine's military. He was arrested on Russia's request, allegedly for a 2007 drug offense, and was in custody in the southern Ukrainian port city of Mykolaiv since June 11, 2018. Strana claims that Timarov was released because of demonstrations that took place outside the General Prosecutor's office on September 17th against the extradition of Timur Timhoyev, a native of the Republic of Ingushetia in the Russian Federation who had fought on the Ukrainian side in the Donbass and was extradited to Russia at the request of its Federal Security Service, which has routinely fabricated political cases against Kremlin critics. Meanwhile, Deputy Prosecutor General Yevhen Yenin told Hromadske Radio that there were no extradition plans underway and that Timarov would no longer be held in detention because of his poor health. This was echoed by the General Prosecutor's spokesman Andriy Lysenko, who told Radio Liberty that stories about Timarov's planned extradition were false. During a September 19th briefing, the Prosecutor General of Mykolaiv Province, Taras Dunasov, announced that his office had not received any documents to confirm Timarov's guilt. The extradition checks have been completed and there are no grounds for detaining him further, Dunasov said. During the same briefing, the governor of Mykolaiv Province also said that Timarov's release was not connected to the protests that had taken place earlier in Kyiv. That's it for this week. You can find more dissected disinformation on our website, StopFake.org. Be vigilant and don't consume fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, send it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.